Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Valeria Card Kingdoms. This is a game in the vein of Machi Koro, where on your turn you're rolling some dice, and depending on cards that you've already acquired that have numbers on them, if you happen to roll those numbers, you get some stuff. However, there's a twist on this mechanism that Valeria does really well that I want to talk about today. The first part of it is that in addition to being compared to Machi Koro, it's also a little bit like Settlers of Catan and the game Craps, in that when you roll the dice in Valeria, everyone benefits. So everyone looks at their cards and uses those numbers to gain stuff. So everyone is involved in every dice roll, which I mentioned Craps because that's the kind of the fun of Craps, is that you are rooting for your opponents to do certain things on their turn. You're rooting for a good roll, basically, even though you're competing against these people. In Valeria, at least, not in Craps, which I really like. This is an element of Machi Koro where some of the cards you acquire are those types of cards where you get to look at the dice of that other people are rolling. But in Valeria, it's every card and every roll comes down to that. So I really like that involvement, that everyone's invested in every die roll throughout the game. Now, in addition to that, what I found is a really interesting twist in the game is the way the numbers that on the dice that you roll correspond to the numbers on the cards. So on the dice, they're D6, so they're numbered 1 through 6. There's 2 of them. You roll both of them, and you gain the benefits based on 3 different things. So I roll 2 different dice. I get, if I have a card, say I roll a 1 and a 2, and say I have cards that have 1, 2, and 3 on the table. That's their numbers. I rolled a 1 and a 2. I rolled a 1, so my 1 card activates. I rolled a 2, so my 2 card activates. And I get to add the numbers of the 2 dice together to equal 3, and my 3 card activates as well. Now, it took me a few turns to realize just how interesting this was, because at first I thought, okay, well, this is cool. It's just a better chance to get more stuff, which is nice. But it also changes the math in a really interesting way based on the numbers on the cards. Because normally in a game like this, like in Settlers or in Machi Koro, if you're rolling 2 dice, the most common number to come up is 7, followed closely by 6 and 8. But in Valeria, because you're not only looking at that combination, but you're looking at each individual dice. Guess which numbers you can never roll on a D6? A 7, an 8, anything higher than that. You can't roll on a D6. So the math completely changes. You still have these, a 7 is still fairly common to come up when you're rolling 2 dice, but you're also having to take into consideration the numbers on each individual die, which they have an equal chance of coming up between 1 and 6. So that adds a really nice twist to the mathiness of the game and makes lower valued cards more valuable than they would otherwise be in a game like this where you're rolling 2 dice. I really like that twist on the math. Those 2 things combined for a really fun experience. I really enjoyed playing this game, and I look forward to playing again. If you have a game in mind that uses a mechanism, a dice rolling mechanism with a neat little twist on it, especially one where when you roll the dice, all the other players are impacted or potentially impacted, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Or if you have a favorite mechanism in Valeria Card Kingdoms, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks.